Personal statements are massively important to the next couple of years and technically your entire career, because your personal statement is going to form a massive part of your UCAS application, and especially next year when universities have these 3 specific questions instead of one long essay, they're going to be looking a lot more. I know that universities before, such as Warwick, Bristol, they actually didn't look at personal statements when reviewing applications, but now with these 3 specific questions, there might be particular questions that these universities begin to look at. So you need to lock it. And I know it's long, you've probably got a lot going on, work experiences, summer schools, you just cannot be bothered after all those mocks, etc. And that's completely cool. You do have a lot of time. You have all of summer, then you have all the way up until the new deadline, which is January the 14th, and obviously the school deadline that you have within your school. But the thing is, the earlier that you start, the better. So here's 3 tips that I've got from my experience last year, which hopefully can help you with your journey. These are 3 things that I wish I knew. They would have helped me massively. The reason why I feel as though that I'm able to talk about this topic and give you these 3 tips is because I got into LSE, and LSE are notoriously known for looking at the personal statement and hammering down on making sure that the quality of personal statements is absolutely exceptional. But here's the thing, I wrote my personal statement in just 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks. It was so long. I did work long hours late into the night, but I did it in 2 weeks, and you have now until your application deadline. And if you're watching this at some point in summer, you have a lot more time than I did. But here's what I would pass on to you guys and what I learned in those 2 weeks of pain, man. Mate, it was pain. Okay, first thing, be concise. You have 3 questions, so it helps you be more concise instead of waffle on. But the thing is, you need to understand that these 4,000 characters are what separates you from another applicant. And for most courses, and I'm assuming that maybe you're applying for a little bit of a competitive course, you're competing against 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, for some courses all the way up to 35 different people for just one place. So what's going to make an admission selector choose your application over someone else's, and your personal statement will play a large role in that. So you need to be concise. Don't waffle on about, okay, you did this, you did that. If it has no impact, you need to create a story. And the kind of format or advice that I would give is to be concise, make sure that your words, phrases, sentences either A, help build an image of you. So if you're talking about an anecdote, okay, so I experienced this, or I went through this, or I saw this. So what are you trying to portray to the admission selector about you as an individual, your character, your personality, the traits that you have, the qualities that you have, because that is real, that is you, and that is a personal statement. Obviously it's not called a personal statement or whatever you guys, I don't know how it's called this year, but it's personal, and that matters. B, does it develop or analyze a point that you previously said? And if so, how concise are you being? If you're talking about something and then you follow it up with nothing, that initial point is meaningless. It has no value. You need to develop and analyze a statement that you make. So it has to develop or analyze something you've said before. And finally, rule C, it needs to prove a point. Now, after you analyze something that you've done, or if you said something, or you said that you saw something, there needs to be some sort of justification or proof. Okay, let's just say you sat through or watched a lecture, whatever it is, right? You sat through a lecture and you saw something really meaningful, and you've said that in your personal statement. You said, yeah, I found this really meaningful and impactful. Okay, but what's the proof? Okay, so you might say something like, okay, so I wrote a blog post about it on this particular site, and I kept a continuous blog post that I uploaded weekly. It could be, okay, I did a study on this particular finding from this lecture. What is your proof? What's the backup that shows that, okay, you heard something and then you did something about it? It's a rule I call input-output. You might have had some sort of input, like you've done something, you've heard something, you've seen something. What's the output? What have you done with that knowledge? What is that path of learning to get you from that input to that output? So that's tip 1. Tip 2, I kind of tiptoed into, but it was literally just about making sure that the personal statement is about you. The thing is, there'll be loads and loads of people saying, I read this book, I read this lecture. Do not list, because then you just become a robot. The last thing you want to do is have a CV, and I got told so many times, do not just list things, right? List your life. List your academic life. List your journey. What have you gone through? Don't just say, I did this work experience, I went here, I learned this, I watched this. No, make it personal. You need to create a story, have some sort of anecdote, so that the admission selector, after they've read through like 5, 6, 7, 8 personal statements, that they come across yours and they look at it and they're like, because the thing is, the person that you want to connect with is the admission selector. So have a look at what they want to see. Look at the modules in the course that you want to study. Look at the different things, the different layers, and really connect with the programs director or however it works. You need to create a layered story. If you have something that's really flat and it's just saying, I did this, I did that, I did that, I did that, no, impossible. In my personal statement, I started off with something, I closed off with a mirror of it. So at the start of my personal statement, I said, in a year 10 business lesson, I was mistaught that businesses should focus primarily on profit or like profitability or something like that. And then at the end, I kind of reflected on that and I said, well, no, you need to consider stakeholders, you need to consider your environmental impact, so on and so forth, right? So create a story, have layers, have connections within your personal statement, because that becomes real. Instead of just becoming a list, it becomes a story, it becomes something that's engaging to read. So make it personal, make it a statement. So now that was tip number 2, and now tip number 3. Use your resources, use people that you know, any connections that you have, use LinkedIn. LinkedIn is so good. I made a whole LinkedIn post about how I did my personal statement, but the literal foundation of my personal statement was peer review and getting people who currently study the courses that I wanted to apply for to review my personal statement. Like, it's very common for these people to receive a lot of DMs to help review personal statements, but if you're just saying, how would you improve this specific bit or this specific sentence, what do you think in general? You don't need to, be so detailed about it. Some will charge you and they might ask for prices, but some people will genuinely help you out a lot. So use people. Honestly, having a lot of feedback can really help, but don't overdo it. Too many cooks spoil the broth. I think that's the saying, but do not let this become an everyone statement. It has to be a personal statement. It has to be you. So whatever you do see, don't feel like you have to make those changes. Be hesitant sometimes. The thing is, with these people, they've studied this course, they've applied to this course, they know loads of people who also applied and got accepted to that course, so they know what it takes to get in there. So definitely take that advice, definitely message people who currently study the course that you do, but don't overdo it and don't become over-reliant. Finally, use a lot of resources. Use all the old personal statements to help you kind of formulate a basis for yours. Not necessarily steal ideas, but just look at the structure, look at the flow. And I know it's a little bit difficult because obviously there's the new personal statement format, but I created a prompt for you guys to use old personal statements and use that prompt. And that prompt, if you just run it through ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, right, it will literally break that personal statement, that old personal statement in the old personal statement format into the 3 questions that you guys have now. You can use any old personal statement, use the prompt that I've included in the link in the description, and if you just put that personal statement into that prompt, ChatGPT or Claude will basically restructure that same personal statement into how it would have been written if it was answering the 3 questions rather than the 1. It won't change any of the content, just rather the structure to make sure it fits. So those were the 3 tips. What I would say in conclusion is, do not worry too much. They do matter a lot, but don't overdo it. Don't think that this is your be all or end all. You still have your grades, you still have your references and all of that. So you should thoroughly check all of those different things, because sometimes things might not be right and you could improve them. For example, like 2 days before I submitted my UCAS application, my predicted grades were like A star, A, B, when they should have been like 3 A stars and an A. So really check everything in your UCAS application. I might make...
So Joe's got a bit more to say that he forgot to add into the video, so let me play that for you now.
Okay, you know what? So to help you further, I got a bunch of my creative friends to send me a quick video clip of their piece of advice that they would give to year 12s. So drop them a follow, just say thank you to them in the comments, or however, whatever works for you. But yeah, watch those. This is the current setup, and then wait till the end because I have a bit of an outro there. But yeah, take care, bye.
If you want tips for your medicine personal statement, then listen up. What you should include is number one, in that juicy main body paragraph, include what work experience you've done, what volunteering you've done, and you need to have an introduction that may include your motivation for medicine, why you want to do medicine. In that main body, include the different roles and responsibilities that you know of what doctors should have, and also why you'd rather be a doctor compared to other medical professions. Finally, in the little, mini side bits, just include what other stuff you've done, like volunteering, talk about different roles, commitments that you've done, projects that you've led, and just qualities that a doctor should have or would have. For example, I led a project with my friends, blah, blah, blah. Qualities like that, include that in your personal statement. But for medicine, they don't really care that much, but some unis do. So just make sure you have that juicy work experience paragraph, and that's it.
The biggest piece of advice I can give you on your personal statement is how to start it, because number one, it's the most important part of your personal statement, and a lot of people actually struggle on it. You can do a lot of things actually. You can talk about a fact in, let's say, medicine. Talk about a fact in medicine that made you interested in, taking that career path. Or talk about a personal experience that made you interested in wanting to study that subject. Firstly, especially talking about your experience, it lures the person who's reading your personal statement, and secondly, it shows your interest, and that's what they want to see. Don't say, since a young age I've wanted to be a doctor, because people who are going to read your personal statement, they're going to see that and they're not going to be interested in you. Best of luck to people writing their personal statements.
Hi, I'm Iffy, and my tip is that only you will know when you're finished with your personal statement, especially if you're going to multiple people for advice. There will always be some sort of note or thing you can improve on. So save yourself the time, don't make it a longer task than it needs to be, and make sure you know when to stop.
The main thing with personal statements is you actually need to make it personal. A common mistake that students always do is that they have this idea that they need to show off everything they know. The people reading the personal statement don't want to know that. The university is already going to teach you that. The people reading the personal statement want to know why doing the course is important to you.
That's all he forgot to add, and back to the video.
One more video if you guys like it. Let me know if you guys like this style of video. If not, just let me know what you guys want me to pivot to. But yeah, this was my first personal statement. Let me know if you guys liked it. I also have my editor Methron doing a lot of the work for me, so if you guys could just drop an appreciative comment for him as well, thank you. But yeah, that's it. Take care, join the Discord, follow me on everything, the personal statement prompts in bio, and that's about it. Take care, bye bye.